This is the final recording for my final for Marriage and Family Counseling 5101 interview with Joseph and Lori May. Joseph and Lori, thank you so much for interviewing with me today. Could you tell me a little bit about when you first met?
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to meet with you today. We met in Germany. It was back in the 70s, and we really liked each other. Great friends and best friends initially, and dated for about 6 years before we decided to get married.
And Joseph, do you think it's important to be best friends before you get married?
Nope,
No?
I don't think so, but I mean, I guess it was with us.
It was with you. So when you were first married, what kind of difficulties or challenges did you have?
Well, I think initially finding out how to compromise with one another, learning more about each other's personalities, give and take, and I don't know, just getting used to each other.
Anything else you can add to that, Joseph?
No, not especially, you know. I think it's just a matter of understanding, accepting one another's differences, you know.
And how old are both of you? Is there an age difference between you?
Yes, there is. There's 19 years. Age different, but as Joseph said, there's really not any, because when he looks at me, he feels 10 years younger, and when I look at him, I feel 10 years older.
That's fantastic. So as your marriage progressed, did you find it went through different stages? Different things happened that maybe the first 10 years were a bit different than the next 5 years?
Well, we found actually that the very first 3 years we had quite a bit of difficulty adjusting to one another, and and after 3 years we went to see a marriage counselor in a local church in San Antonio, and so an elderly minister. And I think that helped.
Would you recommend marriage counseling to young marrieds?
If they feel like it's needed, yeah, definitely I would. And for us, I would recommend good Christian counseling, because we are Christians, and we think from a biblical point of view is important.
Now, how many years have you been married?
28 years.
28 years. Is there anything you wished you had known when you first got married that you know now about your marriage that would have enhanced it then?
I can't think of anything.
I can't either.
So it's progressed the way you wanted it to.
Yeah, definitely. I think we were very much in love. We struggled initially, like Joseph said, but at the same time, our marriage is better, far better today. And I think any marriage is a lot of work, and I think we've worked at ours.
Now, do you have children between you?
No.
Not between us, but we have children.
I have 4 daughters, and Lori has a son from a previous marriage.
How did that work, having a blended family?
Well, our children, they blended, but we weren't rearing them. They were reared by our previous spouses. So when we saw them, they already knew each other. They were friends, but they didn't have to live together under the same roof. So it worked pretty well.
Yeah, my daughters actually were older, ranging in age from 11 to 20, or more, whenever Lori and I were married. When we did, and her son was about 7 years old when we got married. I know he said he was older than that.
He was 13.
He was 13 years old. I'm sorry, he was 13 years old. And as a matter of fact, at our wedding, her son was my best man, and one of my daughters was her bridesmaid.
That's right.
Fabulous. And did you get married in the States or in Germany?
We got married in the States. We were in Virginia.
And after you get married, did you stay at home or did you work outside the home, Lori?
No, I worked outside the home. Most of our marriage, I've worked outside the home.
How does that work for you, Joseph, with her being a professional working outside the home?
It's good, gives me a lot of free time.
Oh, really? Have you ever counseled younger marrieds?
Not directly, I think, not like you are planning to do. But yeah, we've talked to young folks about marriage, you know, and
Just
how
one.
to work together, you know, and put their life in the hands of the Lord.
Are your children married?
Yes, all 5 of them are married, and we have between them we have 12 grandchildren.
Oh, grandchildren, fantastic. So before they got married, did you give them any advice?
No, not really. There was only one son-in-law that I did give him some advice before he married my daughter, because my daughter was, I felt, was a very aggressive young girl. She was dominating, you know, and I wanted him to understand before they had a problem, you know, that where he was going, what to expect from her. And sure enough, it turned out that way. They've been married now for, I think,
31 years.
have they been married 31 years?
Yes, yes.
They've been married for 31 years, and they have a good marriage, but she is still very dominating, and he just goes along with her.
I see. So what do you think have been the biggest challenges throughout your marriage?
I think actually the biggest thing to me was Lori is, I see Lori as being very, very independent.
I am.
And we both, you know, are active in the church and so forth. And the Lord says that the husband should be the head of the family. And it's like we just saw a movie just recently called My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And in that movie, the mother told her daughter, when her daughter wanted to do something that her father wasn't happy with, and the mother said, I'll convince him it's okay. She says, the father is the head of the family, but the mother is the neck. She turns the head.
Oh,
That's a lot of our marriage.
oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Lori, how do you feel about that?
No, I know I'm very independent. I am. It comes from family and from being a Texas woman, and it just kind of comes naturally. I'm a very independent woman, but I love my husband, and he's got the final say. But I suppose sometimes I probably am the one who turns it.
It's really true. I really do get the final say in our family. Yes, ma'am.
That's cute. So what do you think the biggest challenge for younger couples is in today's society?
I think that it's pretty much the same thing. I think that today that both young men and young women are too independent, and they don't learn to work together well, to devote their marriage toward one another. My philosophy is that it should be that God comes first, and the marriage comes second. The husband and the wife each individually come third. In other words, we should always, the wife should be ready and willing to listen to the husband, and the husband should be ready and willing to listen to the wife.
Let's talk for a minute about parenting. What do you think should be the style of parenting for parents nowadays in this country?
What did you say?
We have many
style.
different parenting styles in the country now. Some parents are very submissive to their children. Some are very authoritative. Some just don't do any parenting style. What do you think would be the most positive parenting style for parents to use with modern day children?
Well, I don't think it matters whether it's modern day or people are doing something that may be considered not so modern day, because from our standard for us is the Bible, and we think that doesn't change, just like God doesn't. So we think that parenting, the best example is in Scripture, and it tells us quite clearly how to parent. It doesn't matter if you were parenting 300 years ago, if you're parenting today, it's the best style as far as we're concerned. of parenting.
Can you kind
We
of give
do-
me a short rendition of what that would be?
We do believe in corporate punishment, but not harsh corporate punishment. Like, for instance, just to give you one of the best examples is my first wife and I both smoked. And we had ashtrays that you could put a cigarette in that wouldn't fall out if it was burning, didn't burn up. Sitting around on the tables in the living room and in the bedroom and the bathroom and various places where we could smoke and put our cigarettes in those ashtrays. I didn't believe in taking our ashtrays and setting them up away from where children couldn't get to them. What we did is we taught the children to leave those ashtrays alone. Not just those ashtrays, but whatnots and various things in a room, While they were still crawling around, they would maybe crawl up to a table and get interested in that ashtray. If one of them, we would keep an eye on them, and if one of them reached for an ashtray, we would tap its hand to let them know, you don't do that. And by the time our children could walk, they didn't bother our ashtrays. Same thing with whatnots and things like that. They really didn't get a lot of spankings or anything, but they got enough of that little stuff like that. What I remember that as my daughters began to grow, when they were old enough to talk and understand, all I had to do was speak to them. I never had to, and I wasn't really authoritarian. My philosophy was, as I used to tell my wife, that, hey, the spirit, the soul of those children is just as big as ours. We have a responsibility for them to teach them right from wrong. But they still have they're able to think for themselves, and we taught them to learn to think for themselves and to think properly and have a care for one another.
Do you agree with that type of?
Yes, yes, I do. I believe children need a lot of love and affection, and actually physical from very young age. And also, though, that they need very clear guidelines from a very young age.
That's right.
And they need to understand that they are loved, but children, I believe, feel safer when they know what the standard
What's
is, what's
expected
expected of them, and they're to go that far and no further. And there will be consequences, reasonable consequences. And yes, we do believe in corporal punishment, although we believe that that's just within reason.
Now, I realize that I wasn't necessarily always right in everything. Like, for instance, one of the things I used to teach my children is at the table. We would give them a serving of food, and they were expected to eat it all. Whatever it was usually a small serving. They were expected to eat it all. If they wanted more, they could have it. But don't put more on your plate that you don't eat. I believe now that was wrong. I don't think I should have done that.
Why do you think that was wrong, Joseph?
Well, because, for instance, if you put an extra food on the plate, even if the child does it, sometimes we say that our eyes are bigger than our stomach, and if they put extra food on the table, and if they eat that food and yet they don't need it, that food is wasted just as much as if it had been thrown away. In fact, it's wasted in a worse way because it adds on extra weight. It does things to us that we shouldn't do. So I believe, for instance, as an example like that the children should eat whatever's they need. And if there's any left over, then if it's any food left over, if it's left over in the bowls, you put it away for the next meal. But if it's left over in that place, then you put it in the slop to feed the pigs.
I see. Slot to feed the pigs. That sounds interesting.